Good morning, everybody. Tim Walsh coming to you live from the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute out of the dirty classroom. We're going to give you a minute here to get logged in, and then myself and Chief Jim Moore will be back on to talk about today's topic. Good morning, everybody. Tim Walsh coming to you live from the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute Dirty Classroom. Today I'm joined by Chief Jim Moore, who's the Director of Leadership and Command Programs here on campus. He's going to be talking about us today about first responder resiliency. But let's cover some things before we get into Jim's topic. First of all, thanks for joining us again. Get on your comment section right now. Let us know where you're watching from so you can be recognized. And please send us your questions through the comments section on the Facebook Live page. On Friday, we've added a new topic to the forum. Dr. Katie Teteris from the University of Chicago, EMS, will be speaking on EMS considerations and public health considerations as it relates to the COVID-19 response. Dr. Teteris is a graduate here at the U of I, started her EMS career here on campus with Illinois EMS, and she's a great resource for us to talk about that. Also, you can reach out and hit us on fsi.illinois.edu to follow the links for the portal as today's topic continues. All the information, including Chief Moore's grease board behind me, and links are already on that Facebook portal page. Take a look there so you can follow along with us just as if you were in the classroom. And as always, any questions can be directed to me after the end of today's session to fsi-COVID-19 questions at illinois.edu. So let's go ahead and get started with Chief Moore, and we'll talk about resiliency today and how it affects you and your family as you respond to these incidents. Chief?
Thanks, Chief. Well, hello. I'd first like to start out by saying thank you. Thank you to Chief Walsh and Jill Sauer, our Director of Marketing, for the tireless work that they have done to put together this Facebook Live forum. I'd also like to say thanks to my peers, Chief Hoff, Lieutenant Downey, Lieutenant Stack, and Chief Ellis for talking about how response is affected in the COVID-19. I'd also like to say thank you to the IFSI mental health subject matter experts, especially Dr. Cody Todd, who helped me put together today's presentation. But most importantly, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for the gift that you've given us as an IFSI Your precious commodity of your time means a lot to us. So what we want to talk about today is the resiliency program. Why? Why now? Well, you know, for years we have trained each other. We've trained our young firefighters. We've trained our command officers on how to take care of others. But what we haven't done is we haven't taken the time to say, hey, how do we take care of you after the incident? So that's what the Resiliency Project is about. The last presentations that have been done by my peers have been exceptional. But they were all talking about how do we take care of others, and that's what we're sworn to do. But really today is about you. So what is this program about? Well, it's about taking down the stigma of mental health. If any one of us said in the firehouse, hey, you know, my back is hurting, nobody thinks anything of it. They just think it's a physical ailment. But if somebody in the firehouse says, you know what, my head's hurting today, I'm not in the right space, I'm not in the right spot, we think they're weak. So we don't bring it up. So we have the stigma of mental health. And that's what the IFSI Resiliency Project is about. It's about making sure that we are, that we're taking care of each other, that we're listening to each other, and that we're not afraid to speak up when something's bothering us. What is not? This isn't a chance to ostracize somebody. This isn't a chance to call somebody weak. This isn't a chance to make fun of people. This is a chance for us to break the stigma of mental health in the fire service. This is exactly why the director of the Fire Service Institute, Director Mortensen, two years ago said, hey, we're going to create this resiliency project so that we can talk about mental health. And by the way, the people who we're going to talk about are our IFSI instructors. While we'll be guided by mental health experts, it's our instructors that go out and share the message. Our instructors, the people who have lived the life of a firefighter, where they have seen what it's like to be in the firehouse, they've seen what it's like to be on the fire ground. So what is our commitment to you? Well, we're committed to creating and maintaining a resiliency curriculum. The curriculum we created in 2018 is completely different to the curriculum we have today. And why is it? Because feedback from students like you. People telling us this is what we want. We want more research-based. We want to have more discussion. And we also believe that mental and emotional health and resiliency is an integral part of your PPE. In this COVID-19, we're talking about PPE a lot. But that mental and emotional health is so important to your overall well-being. Your ability to respond and treat others, and your ability to take care of yourself. And this is an evolving project. The IFSI Resiliency Mental Health and Awareness Program, and our development program, and our officer program are an evolving project. As we learn more about mental health and wellness in our firefighters, we will change the curriculum, and your feedback to us is important. So before we start, I'd like to talk about a couple of definitions. One, resiliency, the gradual adaptive changes experienced by a person following a highly adverse event or events, with sustained efforts towards a move forward as a result of lessons or lessons learned. What is it saying? Is we all have post-traumatic stress. Doesn't mean we'll have post-traumatic stress disorder. But what it's saying is that if we have post-traumatic stress, we also have the opportunity to have post-traumatic growth. How do we learn from the event, and how do we become stronger on the other side? That's really the reason for the Resiliency Project. The second is mental health. Mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with normal stresses of life and can productively and fruitfully and is able to make contribution to his or her community. That's what when we talk about resilience, we talk about the mental health. Those are our definitions. So first, you're resilient. Everybody comes out, everybody comes into life, and they are resilient. We're not born feeling exhausted. We're not alone, we're not hurt. And our nervous system is hardwired for homeostasis, meaning it wants to get back to a steady state of well-being. But you know, we're all human. We have events that occur that can impact our life, whether it's our professional life, whether it's our personal life. all those events can impact us and can challenge our homeostasis. And then we also chose a career that constantly tests our resiliency. And we can benefit from learning more. You go on calls, whether you're woken up in the middle of the night, whether you can't sleep because of a call, whether your work rest cycles are thrown off. All of those can challenge your resiliency. So your nervous system, as you can see behind me, we have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Of course, the parasympathetic is rest and digest. If you think about it in the firehouse, if it's you, or if you have somebody that when they're put into an acting position, they're eating Tums like chiclets all over the place. They can't digest, they can't sleep, they're pacing the floor. That person is not in their parasympathetic nervous system is not functioning because the sympathetic system is overriding it. And when the sympathetic system is overriding it, you become exhausted. Things that happen in the parasympathetic system is your stress response, your fight. I need to overcome. You pull up on the scene, you have a fire, you see the fire, you look at it, you size it up, and you say, I can get this or I can't. So the fight, I'm gonna fight this, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna overcome it. Flight, I need to get away. That is as simple as the strategy on the fire ground, whether it's offensive or defensive. Even though I go defensive, I'm not running away, but I am lessening the risk that we're taking on the fire ground. And then freeze. I can't overcome it, I can't get away. If you've seen on the fire ground, whether it's been you or somebody that you work with, somebody can freeze along the way. Sometimes all it takes is a hand on the shoulder. And you say, hey Bob, are you okay? Or hey Bob, can you come with me? That can pull the person out of the freeze. And freeze is a biological response. It's not something that they're weak. It's not something that they're not a good firefighter. It's a biological response.
Chief, excuse me for a minute. We had one question come up. We had a question about testing for first responders. So we're going with the CDC guidance here. Chief Moore and I are not experts on this topic, and the CDC has recommended for first responders not to be tested unless you're showing signs or symptoms of the disease. The reason that is because the test only determines whether you have the virus that day and that day only. So you could leave the testing site, results usually come in 3 to 5 days, and you could be positive later, but not positive the day you took the test. There are some testing sites in the state of Illinois. I'm going to read you the addresses. The one that most first responders have been using is at 6959 West Forest Preserve Drive in Harwood Heights. They're doing about 250 people there a day, and it's an early report. Some of the other testing sites that were originally identified in the first program were the Walgreens in Bolingbrook on Boughton Road, the Walmart in Joliet on Jefferson Street, and the Walmart in Northlake on North Avenue. So we'll get some further information from IDPH as we progress through the program or later after we've completed today to make sure those sites are available to you. But please refer to our portal page on the forum for the CDC direct guidance and IDPH direct guidance because that's what we're utilizing to answer your questions. Chief Moore?
Thank you, Chief. So just to recap, parasympathetic, the rest and digest. It's important that I allow my body to get into the parasympathetic system where I can get some rest because in the rest part is when my immune system comes back. And digest. If I can't digest my food, I can't get the energy, and then I also start to get indigestion and I get reflux. Creates problems. The parasympathetic, we talked about the fight, flight, or freeze. Well, the stress response is innate. None of these are responders' choices. The survival portions of the brain, they make the choice. All right? But the other part of that is that there's also no learned part of the stress response through training. Through training, we have trained you to go do some hazardous things. Go into burning buildings. Deal with hazardous chemicals. Deal with whether it's active shooters or deal with rescue, confined space rescue, high angle rescue, collapse rescue. Any of those we've trained you to do. We've trained away some of that innate response. And over time, your experiences, are good or bad, help you understand what is right. Which happens is we take the innate and we take the current response, we take the innate and the learned, and we create the current response. And that current response is based upon an RPDM model, a rapid prime decision-making model. Is I take a look at, here's the situation, I bring it back in my mind and I say, hey, I had a situation like this, not exactly, but this is what I did. I take that analysis, I bring it back up to the situation, I say, will this work? No, that won't, so I go back and forth. That's rapid prime decision making, going back and forth in my mind. The uneasy part of the COVID-19 is none of us have this experience where we say, hey, this is what I did in the pandemic. That's where some of the anxiety comes in for all of us, is we don't have that experience. And part of the crisis brings on mental fatigue. If I'm always working in the sympathetic mind, so that my mind is always working on the sympathetic part, that uncertainty creates the anxiety in me. This uncertainty has tested individuals, organizations, and the whole global community. I hear from firefighters throughout the state. Some of the quotes are, you know, Chief, each day my department has a new rule, a new procedure to deal with COVID-19. They can't decide what to do, and this is driving me crazy. I hear from chiefs that say, hey, you know, this whole COVID-19 has forced me to come from a planner to a reactor, and I'm comfortable planning. Well, quite frankly, this is uneasy and uncertain for everybody. It's a novel virus, meaning CDC is learning on the fly. They're learning about the transmission, they're learning about the prevention, they're learning about the modes of protection. A virus undergoes kind of an evaluation and a natural selection as it changes, because the virus wants to survive. If the virus kills the host, it kills itself. So the virus wants to survive. So really what I recommend as part of your resiliency is be active, because there's choice and control here. Be active in your protection. Wear the proper protection. Don't let someone else say, hey, you don't need it. If you believe you need it, wear it. All right? Be the leader in it. Get information and get it from trusted sources. Chief Walsh has talked all week about going to our resource center or going to the CDC, but get it from trusted sources. And wear your PPE and practice proper hygiene. So we talk about the uncertainty. Well, where does that come from? Well, choice and control. All right? First off, control. When you're facing uncertainty, the brain gets taxed, and it gets taxed quickly, because I can't recognize anything. As I talked before, in the rapid prime decision making, I'm going back and forth between what do I see, what have I done, what's worked, will this work? So back and forth, my mind is bouncing back and forth. I can't find something that I can control. So really a good way to do this is, when I can't find something that I can control, is find some small exterior events, find some activities, find some things that you can control, like, hey, you know what, I want a turkey sandwich. Well, go get that turkey sandwich. Or, hey, I want to go exercise. Wow, go exercise, because that really helps the body. That helps the body to release endorphins, that helps the body to say, hey, I controlled this and I was able to control my workout. And when I do this, this helps support my nervous system and stops me from going into the sympathetic flight system all the time. So it's important to control it. An example, if you talk about on the fireground, is sometimes you'll see somebody who's overwhelmed on the fireground, and they're messing with something that makes absolutely no sense. Whether you're watching it on a YouTube video or you're watching it in real life, is you'll see somebody messing with an axe, a broken window, a hose line, a hydraulic line, something that doesn't really matter to the incident, but they're able to control that one thing right then. And then at that point, you put a hand on the shoulder, say, hey, Bob, come on with me, give me a hand. Okay? That usually is all we have to do to reset. But many times you'll find people on the fireground doing some things, you go, why are they doing that? That was the one thing they could control, and that's what they did. The other part is choice. You know, choice in the uncertain times, it's important to find something, no matter how small, of a choice I want to do. And first off is I got to let forward my thoughts. I got to let my thoughts come through and process them. I can't throw my thoughts away as crazy or wacky or stupid. I've got to take my thoughts and I've got to process them. And I've got to acknowledge them. Just by doing that alone gives me a choice, settles my mind down that I have come forth with some ideas, I've come forth with some thoughts, and I've integrated my brain and the nervous system for flowing downstream. This helps me from going into the fight mode because I had choice. I processed my thoughts. I've taken the time to say, hey, what's going on in my mind? And then, of course, the current adaptive response is we're anxious. It is all this is going on, we're anxious. This is normal and expected. Let me say that again. People being anxious right now is normal and expected. Your children are home from school. Your children are home from college. You're separated from your adult children. People are separated from each other. People are socially isolated. This creates some anxiousness. This will pass. We will get this. And we will gain more information and education and experience with COVID-19. Understand this anxious part is part of the mental process. The risk of staying in this anxious state too long is it prevents us from having physical and psychological reserve for other events. So when I say that is, one of my thoughts is in leadership is you can't lead on empty. Well, firefighters, you can't serve on empty. Fire officers, you can't lead on empty. So it's important that you deal with the thoughts and the feelings that you have so that when something big occurs, you've got some reserve. You've got something left in the tank that you can help serve others. And also, in the end, take care of yourself. And then, of course, there's the information flood. While information is a critical component, Chief Walsh has done a great job of pushing out information with Jill all week long. It's a critical part of making decisions. But the persistent hum of information triggers a sympathetic nervous system, which then prohibits the rest and relaxation cycle. Going back to the parasympathetic nervous system, as we talked about before. If I'm always in the sympathetic, I can't get any rest and I can't digest. It's important that I take the time to do that. Be informed, but avoid the endless news loop that prohibits self-care. 1 hour a day, turn off your phone. 1 hour a day, get away from the devices. At least take some time for yourself that you can rest and digest. To step away so that you can help serve others. But you can't serve others if you aren't well. Take the time for every day and disconnect. And the key components, we talk about key components here in support, is self-care, self-awareness, self-compassion, self-acceptance. This is for supporting your own resiliency. We talk about activities, external, all right? So say things like hobbies, daily habits, things that support your well-being. I understand that right now we're socially isolated. Doesn't mean that I should be emotionally isolated. Doesn't mean that I can't talk to people. Doesn't mean that I can't join a fitness class online. Doesn't mean that I can't do my daily hobbies. What it means is I have to do a change to my daily routine. But what I have to do is take care of myself so I can serve others. So find your hobbies, do your exercise. The excuse of the gym is closed. The gym that I go to is closed. There are more online classes right now through all the different gyms out there. Anything from the YMCA through all the other paid gyms or YouTube. There's plenty of videos out there for exercise in your house. On the internal, meditation, mindfulness, appraisals, therapy, I have to be mindful of what's going on. What are my true feelings? What am I fearful of? What is going on in my body? What's going on with my family? If my spouse has lost her job because because of social isolation, am I worried about the finances of my family? I have to be mindful and I have to be supportive. And gratitude. Gratitude is so important. If you remember, I started out 20 minutes ago, and I said thank you. I said thank you to those who set up the forum. I said thank you to those who came before me. And I said thank you to you. And we truly mean that. But being thankful for what we have, being thankful for the opportunities that we had to serve others, and being ready to show appreciation, helps the body to settle itself, helps the body step away from the fight, and it goes into the parasympathetic. So being grateful is an important thing. Sleep. I get it. I'm not a great sleeper either, all right? But sleep is important. Sleep is an essential and necessary component. During your rest, during your first 4 hours of sleep, is when the immune system cleans the body. That's when the immune system doesn't work. The second 4 hours is when the brain processes. When the brain does it, works on processing the day, taking all the day's activity and flowing it from one side and out. So it's important that we get sleep. Listen, you probably come home from shift. And some days you go home and you're physically tired. Other days you go home and you're mentally tired. It's important that you take that time to rest, so that you allow the immune system to do its job, so that you allow the mind to process like it's supposed to process. 7 to 8 hours is optimal. I get you're not getting that on shift, because that sleep on shift isn't exactly as good as it is at home. But do what you can. Naps along the way are important to refresh, but understand that naps, while they're healthy, won't do as good as a good 8 hours of sleep for the immune system. Now, when I say naps, this isn't time to take this video and take it to your fire chief and say, hey, Moore said you got to get some naps in. What I'm saying is 15 minutes along the way isn't a bad idea. And then exercise. Exercise is really important. Exercise allows my body to release endorphins. I feel better, I feel good, I feel positive when I have endorphins in my body. Secondly, is it helps to regenerate blood cells, so that when I have full body blood cells, that I am more invigorated, I have more energy, and my immune system is working better. Connection. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Social distancing is important. It certainly is. And it's important for the control of the novel virus. But it's not emotional distancing. Reach out to others via phone, via video conference. Text doesn't do the same as speaking, and text doesn't do the same as speaking and viewing. So it's really important that you reach out either by phone or video conference to connect with others and stay supported. Find your group of friends. Stay with your group of friends. Support your group of friends. And also those that may be isolated. Reach out. You know, many times with mental health, all that has to happen is somebody reaches out. Somebody says, are you okay? Just that enough. Just that is enough for most people to say, somebody cares. I'm okay. I'm not alone. And that's important. The other part in self-care is breathing. I know it sounds goofy. I know you're not going to sit there in front of each other and take a slow, long 4-second breath. Hold it for a couple seconds and then let it out. But when you take that breath, just feel where your body is at. Whether you take in the breath and feel it come in from your fingertips up through your body and into your lungs, and then exhale it out slowly for 4 seconds out through your feet, however you do it. But by taking that breath, a low, slow 4-second breath in, hold it a couple seconds, let it out. You take and reset your body. You take and slow down the sympathetic system and get yourself back over to the parasympathetic, where I can rest and digest. Now, communication. We talk about communication. With your family. If you're anxious, your family's anxious. And you can pretend that, well, I don't bring the job home. We all bring it home. We all walk in and people feel our tension, people feel our anxiety, people feel that energy. Whatever framework works for you at home. I can't tell you which will work with you. But in many cases, if you float an idea, step away. because people need time to process it. People are scared, just like a novel virus, we don't know what to do. People, you coming up with a new idea, something about what's going on at work, something about how you're caring for people. People are unsure. Your family's unsure. Understand they have fears and anxieties just like you. They want factual information. Share the factual information you have. Don't share the drama. Share the factual information. And then empower your family to ask questions of you and share your feelings and thoughts without judgment. We're problem solvers. It's important that we do this without judgment. If they're scared, don't say, oh, that's stupid. I can tell you my own relationship. There's many times my wife will start to talk about a problem and I want to fix it. Many times she just wants to be heard. So you have to remember that it's important that you listen and that you wait to respond, because the people want to be connected. Your family is worried about you just like you're worried about them. Self-awareness. I got to be open. I got to be open with my feelings. One of the things that when we started the Resiliency Project, it was a struggle for all of our instructors, was how open am I about myself? What struggles do I have? Because we all wrestle with something in life. And I got to be willing and I got to be honest in what's going on in my life and what's going on. I don't have to tell you every part of it, but I have to be open with what's bothering me. I got to be curious. When I'm having some thoughts that aren't normal for myself, I've got to have a strong wanting to figure out what's going on. And I want to have a strong wanting to figure out what's going on with those around me. And then purpose. Boy, we all have a purpose. You know, sometimes you'll hear from the retired guys. The retired people is, boy, I lost my purpose. Or I missed the cruise. I missed that interaction. Right? What is my purpose? Well, your purpose right now is to serve others. And it is as a firefighter. But what is my purpose with my family? What's my role with my family? How do they do with me and how do they do without me? And it's important to have that dialogue. Self-compassion. Understanding. I have to have an understanding and empathy, an understanding of, hey, I'm feeling anxious about this. I don't know about this. Other people are feeling the exact same way that I am. Hope. Well, hope is our strongest human emotion. Hope is a forward-looking that this will get better. Hope is, I can do this. Hope is, I will get through this. And as hope is the strongest human emotion, it's important we hang on to it. And part of hope is faith. A strong belief or a trust in something or someone. Whether you have a faith in God or you have a faith in others, whatever your faith is, it's important that we keep our hope. And it's important that we keep our faith. And self-acceptance, a compassionate love, the brotherhood or the sisterhood. You know, there's nothing better than in the brotherhood or the sisterhood in the firehouse. When we're supportive of each other. That friendship, that support, and that bond from a group of people. As I said before, when the retired guys, when you talk to a retired person, they'll always say, you'll say, what do you miss? And they'll say, I miss the cruise. And it's important that we reach out to each other. And it's important that we keep the brotherhood and the sisterhood. Kindness. I've got to be kind. One to myself. I got to understand. You know what? This is different. I haven't seen this. I don't know about this. I'm scared. And I got to be kind to others. Because in others' fear and others' anxiety, they may not act as normal as they do. And connection. Part of this whole thing is connection. That human connection. Whether it's a best friend, whether it's your crew, whether it's your family. That connection. We're social beings. As firefighters, we like the camaraderie in the firehouse. It's important that we have that connection to each other. And it's important that we solidify the connection with our families. Because they're scared too. So as we face this unique challenge, it's important that you support one another. That you communicate with each other. And that you stay connected with your family, your friends, and your What I'd like to talk as we wrap up is also our resiliency courses. In the IFSI resiliency course package, we have 3 courses available. The resiliency and mental health awareness is available as a 1-hour format in our requisite programs. So meaning like the Firefighter Academy, Company Fire Officer, Confined Space, and Robots. We have that infused in the training so that people hear the message more than once. And that's a program we infuse into our requisite curriculum. The Resiliency Development for First Responders. This is a 4-hour standalone course. 2 hours of presentation, 2 hours of interactive workbook, where you learn about yourself, you learn about the way you cope, you learn about strategies to be better, strategies to help increase your resiliency. And a new one coming out later this year in the fall of 2020 will be leadership support for first responders. So it'll be leadership supports for first responder resiliency. So what it is it's a program that is designed for officers so that they're able to provide the leadership support to firefighters. So when a firefighter comes into your office and says, hey lieutenant, hey captain, hey chief, do you have a minute? It's not a minute. They're talking about, I need something, and I need something from you, and I need your time. This course will help, how do I deal with those situations? And resources. Resources about the IFSI program are available on our website. If you go to fsi.illinois.edu, go up to programs, find resiliency. In resiliency, you'll learn about our subject matter experts, you'll learn about our programs. At the bottom, you will find a resiliency guide. It's a PDF that has low cost or no cost resources available on the state level and at the national level. Sorry, Tim.
No, that's all right. I'm sorry to interrupt. So a couple of things, guys, as Chief Moore is starting to wrap up here a little bit. Also at the bottom of the resiliency page are resources that are available to you right now. And not only are we concerned about firefighters and paramedics, but as Jim said earlier, we need to thank those people that are out there on the front lines doing their job every day. The truck drivers, the nurses, the physicians, the kid bagging your groceries at the local grocery store. All of those people are feeling the same things that you're feeling, and they're dealing in the public as well. The links are in the comments above there, and the actual state resources are available both for firefighters at the local and state level, national resources, and then law enforcement issues, law enforcement resources. Our brothers and sisters in blue are on the front lines with us, and as we've talked about in earlier episodes, you need to include them, either in eating, or decompressing, or speaking about what they're going through as well. So make sure that you do that. I'm sorry to interrupt, Chief. Would you please continue?
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate you stepping in. As Chief Walsh was talking, there's a resources at the bottom of our page and also a LibGuide at the bottom of our page. Our library has done an exceptional job of putting together many of the articles that we use to put together the resiliency program. It's in our LibGuide. It also has books that are available in our resource center that you can check out through any library through the IFSI Resource Center. As I start to wrap up, I'd like to say thank you to the IFSI Resiliency and Mental Health subject matter experts, and again, Dr. Cody Todd for helping me put this together. I'd also like to say thank you to the REACT Foundation, which is in memory of Lieutenant Ryan Elwood. His family has put together just a loving memorial of Ryan through their work on suicide prevention, mental health, and resiliency. So the REACT Foundation has done an exceptional job for us. As I get to the final thought, I want to encourage you that as you face this uncertain time, the importance of supporting one another, the importance of recognizing the stress and anxiety in yourself, and understanding that I need to have choice and control to help settle that down. The importance of communicating with each other and staying connected with your family and your friends. I welcome you to contact us with any questions. And I thank you for gifting us your time.
Chief Moore, thanks for your talk today. We appreciate it. Just a couple things to tidy up before we let you guys go. All that stuff that Chief Moore talked about is at fsi.illinois.edu. Please make sure that you take the time to take a look at it. If you're a company officer or a chief officer, make sure the people in your firehouses have that availability to reach out to that material. Print some of that material, leave it on the kitchen table. And if you're a chief officer like Chief Moore and I are, make sure that you allow your crews to take naps during this time. They are at a stress level that it probably hasn't been seen since 9/11, and we have to defer the way that we operate now to make sure that the people on the street that are delivering the majority of the services are well rested and that they're able to respond. Continue to tune in with us as we go forward this week with Dr. Katie Tateras from the University of Chicago. She's the EMS Fellowship Program Director and the Project Medical Director for the South Side of the City of Chicago. We'll soon be talking about EMS response and public health considerations to the COVID-19 response. As always, you can check in with us at fsi.covid19questions@illinois.edu and send us future ideas and topics that you want us to cover. We appreciate you being here with us today. From the Dirty Classroom at the University of Illinois Fire Service Institute, Chief Jim Moore and Tim Walsh telling you to be careful and take care of each other.